This project is an honest and in-depth perspective of and from former students of Milt and Hershey School. We call ourselves Milts.
An organic, open discussion of life before, during, and after attending MHS.
Yes, sir.
Listen, we're going to get right into it. We're just going to conversate. This is free form. So there's no uptightness with it. We just conversating.
Okay.
All right. So welcome everybody to Milt Talk Podcast. We are here talking to the legendary Leroy Galloway, Mr. Galloway. Welcome.
Galloway.
Cool.
Hey, what's going on, people?
What's
How
up?
are you?
Man, it's great to have you on. I say legendary, and I don't use that term loosely with you. You know what? I'm going to start with, can you tell the people when you started working in Milt and Hershey School and in what capacity, what year that was?
I started in 1976. I came out of school in 75, so I came right into Milt and Hershey, right out of college.
And that was out of Shippensburg?
It was out of Shippensburg. So it was the first job and the only job I ever had.
Okay.
Damn.
And you went right in as a teacher?
I came in as an English teacher. At first, I majored in elementary ed. So when I first interviewed for the job, I thought I was going to get an elementary job. But then I was called probably about a month before that, and they told me that the English position.
Okay.
That was good because I had a good sixth grade teacher. I went back to the sixth grade teacher, and he helped me lay out a whole curriculum.
Nice. And that was, and it's interesting you say the elementary school. I'm gonna ask you something different about your wife. Also was a teacher at Milt and Hershey School.
Yes, she taught second grade.
And when did she start?
What did she what?
When did she start there at the school?
She started a year after me.
Okay, so also early on.
Yeah.
It's funny, Mr. Galloway. We know you. All of us ran track, and most of us had you. And I didn't even know that. That's what this is about, is talking to you to get that history that we don't know about. So I know I had you for English in 8th grade. God, that would have been about, what, 84, y'all? 85?
85 or 86.
I know I was teaching 8th grade English, and then I finally switched over to 7th grade.
Okay.
Because
when did you have him?
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly when, but I know all of the teachers that were in 8th grade were retiring. And I was like the oldest one, and I didn't want to be the oldest one. So it's like, I'm going down. So I went down where Jim Dearden and some of those people were at, and fit right in with the 7th grade.
You sure enough did. We wanted to, I think all of us collectively wanted to say excuses.
Excuses are tools of
Confidence that build monuments to nothing. And those that usually specialize in them are seldom
good at anything else.
Excuses.
You know where that came from?
Excuses. I want to know where that came from. Where did that come from?
In 1980, I was pledging a fraternity, Omega Psi Phi, and I had to learn that. And at that point in time, I came back and I said, you know what? If I had to learn it, it's good enough for a whole lot of other people to learn. There were some other things, of course, and I did teach poetry, some poems in class too, but I thought this was probably the one that everyone should know. So that's when I started it.
I mean, how do you feel about that all of us notice, this late in life, and people come up to you, I'm sure, and recite that to you all the time? And
well, it's like when I first gave it to the students, the whole idea was just to create a situation where, most people think they can't do stuff. Remember, I gave you that poem the first day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the third day, I had everybody recite. So it told me that everybody that was in that classroom was capable and they were smart enough to do stuff. So, that was the last time I was going to take excuses no matter what.
Wow.
And I get credit for it.
That's
It
crazy.
proved to me that, our students are, they're smart, and I said, this is a good class because everybody did it on the third day.
Right.
Yeah, and we
Well, they were prepped for it.
Like I said,
to
this day.
When you think about it now, like, how come none of us, because we all knew that if you had him, you had to learn it. Why did we not learn it prior to going in?
That would have been a
I
smart
don't know.
thing to do.
But you know
Right?
what? It probably didn't have any meaning until later on.
Oh,
And
that's
people
for sure. I
started-
was just memorizing
and then you
words.
start
I didn't
telling
know what it meant.
Yeah, you start telling your kids, you know, start using it on other people because you just get tired. You'd be surprised how many times you hear excuses. People just
yeah.
give excuses all the time. And you have to sit there and listen to it. And, you know, you get to a point where you go, you know what? I don't want to hear it.
You don't even want to hear it. It's the word actually triggers it for me. Just the
Oh, yeah.
literal word, when I hear it, you know what I mean? Like I catch myself and I'm like, okay, I can't be on no bullshit because
That's right. Yeah.
I know better.
In so many words, you're right.
Yeah, but here's the great thing about that. I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that went to the school during the time frame that you were there that you presented that. So from 1980 to a minimum of 1991 or 92, I would say 95% know it verbatim, if not 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that, and that all comes back to one guy. And so I feel like that says something all by itself. So we're not even talking about the track legacy that you left. We're not even talking about some of the different things that you were able to do, some of the hurdles besides the real hurdles that you jumped, and the monumental things that were done at Milton Hershey that you did. Because I feel like, we were having a conversation the other day, and it just came up in conversation. We never lost a dual meet my entire high school career. Never lost a dual meet.
No.
And, I mean, I'm talking about, it was never even close. And we ran against everybody that was anybody. So, but I would put excuses above that.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to you as an educator. And that's what we wanted to separate the difference between Mr. Galloway, the track coach, and Mr. Galloway, the teacher.
And you know what? And you use the word separate, and I took whatever I did in the classroom to the track. I always thought that, you know, track and even sports is all about learning. You know, you teach it the same way. You know, you care, you put all you can, you break it down. You know, you worry about the process more than you do about the product.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to present it the right way. You have to teach it the right way. And then you expect the same results.
Mm-hmm.
And it never changes.
Right.
You know, it works everywhere. You know, so if you do it right the first time and you break it down in chunks, then everything works for it.
So listen, now that we start to
But
talk.
Anything I learned in the classroom, just like, you know, my sixth grade teacher broke down the whole English language to me, you know, so that I could teach it. I did the same thing with track and field, and I did the same thing in my classroom.
Which is interesting about track and field too, Mr. Galloway. Like, you know, that you had such a legacy as far as a coach is concerned. Another thing that we wanted to talk about was your career prior to becoming a coach, prior to becoming a teacher. You had quite the track career too, and a lot of people don't really know. I know I don't know the actual extent. You hear rumors, the Olympics and all that stuff. Can you tell us about your career as a you know?
Well, I had a good high school career. You know, I decided I would run hurdles probably my senior year because as a junior, I was a decent sprinter, but I wasn't the fastest. So I remember one day on Easter morning, I guess it was Easter evening, I went up to the track and I said, I got to learn a new event because the bottom line is I'm only going to be number 2 or number 3, and I want to be number 1. So I taught myself how to learn the hurdles, and I came back and, you know, I was pretty good my senior year. In fact, I had the best time in the state. And it wasn't until the district meet that I finally lost. And I think prior to that, I guess the last meet that we had, we went to Shippensburg and we had a dual meet. And then what happened was there were some guys in the locker room who took some stuff. And our coach was furious. So when he came back, he said, that's it. Track is over. So we had a whole week of districts. And at that point in time, I really had never been to district before. So I didn't even know what it was all about. So I just said, okay, we're done. It's hung, you know, and I hung it up. And then I guess it wasn't until Thursday that he came back and he says, hey guys, look, all you guys qualify for for districts, we're gonna have practice today. Well, at that point in time, I couldn't tell whether I really wanted to do it. And as far as a whole week of practice missing, I went out there and I ran, and I actually, at that time, they only took the top 2 to states. And for whatever reason, they said I finished 3rd. All the other coaches said I finished 2nd. But this so happened to be in Lancaster, and one of their Lancaster runners was actually the one that came up and supposedly beat me. But it was no cameras, no video, no instant replay. And I walked off at that point in time and I said, keep it. And I said, I'll take my football scholarship, and I'm not running track anymore.
And that's in high school.
I went to college and that was it. I just said, I'm not running track anymore. So I went on a football scholarship at Shippensburg. And I just told myself that I would never want to be in that position again where somebody had to make a judgment call on my career.
Wow.
So at that point in time, I just started running, I did football. And it wasn't until spring that came around and I was sitting up in my room and I heard the guns go off. And I walked over to the track and I looked at what the track team was doing. And I just said something to the coach like, I could beat all your hurdlers right now.
Right now.
I believe
right
that.
now. He looked at me and he says, if you think that you're that good, come to practice on Monday. So I showed up at practice on Monday and I beat all the hurdlers. So, that's when I started running track at Shippensburg. And it was kind of nice, but, I got caught between the two because I was probably one of the few athletes that they allowed to do football and track.
Wow.
And the coaches didn't get along, I could tell you. So I was always caught in the middle. So when spring season came, they wanted me to play spring football. And I said I was running track. So I did it the first year. But I was no good afterwards. I was like beat up after football, and I missed half the track season. So I kind of told him I'm not doing that anymore. So the football coach kind of looked at me, and he says, yeah, you're doing the right thing. And the track coach looked at me and says, well, you're going to lose your track scholarship. And I said, well, I'll take my football scholarship.
Yeah.
And so, I played one against the other the whole time I was here. But they allowed me to do it. And, I ended up in the Hall of Fame at Shippensburg for both.
Nice. And were you a receiver, Mr. Galloway?
I was, I started off my freshman year, I was actually a receiver. My sophomore year, I was a running back. My junior year and my senior year, I went to wing back, which is the same as receiver and running back.
Right, the H-back.
Yeah.
That's interesting because like I said, I vaguely remember you coaching football at the Milt when we were there. Just I think maybe the 7th or 8th grade, or I can't remember.
I did 1 year junior high, or one or 2 years of junior high, and then I did a couple years of varsity, but I skipped off and on. It was just too much to do because then I started a winter track program. They had never had winter track before, and I started that. And I wasn't getting paid or anything for it, but I just thought it was a necessity. And so I got to a point where I was going year round and I wanted, I had a family, so I had to stop something. So I did football 1 year and then I just say, I'm not doing it no more. And that was it.
I got to give you my little quick winter track story. And this was a life lesson for me. So I remember doing winter track. Not till I when I was young, me and Warner dreamed about being on track because that was the sport at the Milt back then. We looked up to the Goeys and the Kristen Simpsons and Sheldons and, all them dudes that y'all were getting records and all that. So me and Warner was like, we're going to be on track one day. So I did winter track. And here's the story. So you remember when we would time the 40 between the Catherine Hall gym doors and Mr. Shellhorn's class?
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we all did.
Right. So I was fast, but I didn't realize how fast I was. I'm just smoking everybody. Well, here comes the new kid, Gary Smith. Big white boy. I'm like, I'll race him. So We go down there, we line up, pow. And remember how he used to run straight up and down, just and heavy footed. And so, we get down and we be neck and neck, and right at the end, boom, he beat me. I said, no, we got to run it back. Run it back from the top. And so he beat me again. And then I didn't think about it, but I was definitely feeling some kind of way. So you remember how you used to post up on the bulletin board
Your time.
in the
Times,
time?
put them up there.
And Gary Smith was the anchor, I think, for the 4x1.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only person who was even close to him. And I did not run. I was not a sprinter that year. I was so focused on all these years being a jumper. I wanted to jump. So I didn't sprint. You didn't say one word to me the whole year. Till the last day, the last practice, we're coming in, and you look over and you said, and I thought you was going to be a sprinter, Jackie Stroman. I done missed my calling. I should have focused on what I was good at, but I was so, and it was a life lesson. I was like, you gotta look at the bigger picture sometimes. And I think I was waiting for you to come tell me, hey, we want you to sprint, but you let me walk my path. And I look back and I'm like, man, I could have been part of some of that history too. I was fast.
Well, the thing is, as head coach, you try to you don't want to grab people from other areas, because you want all the other coaches to feel like, you can, make your own, athletes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times as a head coach, I just kind of sat back, and then I just said, well, we had time trials, we'll see. But if somebody was doing okay in the jumps, I didn't mess with anybody.
Well, that's the thing. I was only average on my best day.
He never sent you out.
I should have been over there with you.
Yo, wait a minute, Coach, you're telling a story now.
That's it.
He's telling a story.
He's telling a story because I was over there in the pit on high jump. One day I was laying down in the pit.
That's what you were doing, lying down. And I said, you don't need to be over
I was laying down and I look up and he was staring down. He was staring down at me. Go here and beat him. I don't know what you think you're doing. Yo, you better get in this open 400 right now. I was like, the open 400?
You're like a whole lap?
I'm high jumping and long jump, Coach. I got 3 events. Now you got 4. Now you better get in that open 400.
That's because you were lying down in the pit. I'm going, he's wasting himself over there.
Not on my track.
Yo, that's exactly what happened. So I was like, I'm going to go over here and try and run this laissez-faire 400. Messed around and ran like a 49.9 or something stupid. And he was like, you going to run it next time.
We can work with that.
Next thing you know, we 4x4, and that's where the name, and I was telling Coach, that's how Cash Money Relay Team really started. And so some of the members as we progressed, some of those members, as we graduated, some of those members were still around. Bobby Carr, Sheldon Green.
Mm-hmm.
Break didn't run with us then. So Break and I was telling was Devin Bradley.
Devin Bradley
didn't know what he was going to become yet. So those 2 guys, and if we had Devin Bradley, either one of them guys
had it your year,
Cash Money Relay Team, either one of them guys, oh my God, I can't think of the numbers we'd have. I can't.
But remember, Devin was jumping too.
Yeah.
Devin was a jumper.
We were chilling. I would go over there and take one jump and win the beat or whatever, and then go back and then get yelled at by you to get around the track. So, and then they had bamboozled me into running the 4x8. I don't know how any of these things happened, but either way. But I remember he came over and was standing right over top of me. Yeah. I know you better get in that open 400. And I was like, and Webb was like, hey. I go, you better get over Coach Galloway. He wants you. I was like, oh, man. I was like, Webb's not going to co-sign for that. Webb was like, hey.
I'm sure half of that was the kids. I came up with your name. It was like, he can run it. I said, if he can run it, don't worry, I'll get him in it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I would talk to the kids. I said, who do you want? And they knew the kids, they knew you better than I did. So a lot of times they would say a name and I go, oh, don't worry, I'll get him over there.
Yeah. And shout out to Mr. Landenberger for not cutting me. because I was trying to be like Munch and get on the pole vault team.
Oh,
But Mr. Landenberger surely saw I had no pole vault talent. So he's the one that said, well, he's trying to jump over the thing. Maybe you can use him, Webb. And Webb was like, oh, yeah, I take him. And that's how that whole thing started. But yeah, you know, and
I
shout
remember
out.
Munchie did that pole vault when he landed in the middle of the pit.
It started
Yeah,
convulsing.
and he never
He was a
took
little
another
afraid of
pole
it
vault.
then. I was like, don't worry, I'll take you.
He took Munch. Yeah.
So you'll be okay without that. You'll be okay without that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He was a sprinter the rest of the year.
Oh my
he
God.
sure was. And he was
fast.
good.
That's
Jessica,
so funny.
you jumped.
What?
You were a jumper, Jessica.
You only let me jump my senior year.
Nah, you moved to the intermediates, and you also had the low hurdles, so you were busy.
I was busy. You had me busy. And I don't even know how I became a hurdler. I think you just, when I showed up at track, you were like, yeah, you're going to do those hurdles. And I was like, all right.
Remember, I started everybody on the hurdles. You know, I like to take everybody over there. It only took like 5 minutes to see what potential you had. And it was like, okay.
And then he was like, so I used to be a 5-stepper in between the hurdles. And then I became a 4-stepper. Fortunately, I could alternate. And then he was like, yeah, that's going to be 3 steps in between. And I was like, do you see my stumps? I don't have long legs. Like, I can't do 3 steps in between. He was like, yes, you can. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a whirl.
No excuses.
Busted up knees, blood everywhere.
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
damn.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
That
Hey,
was
Coach,
good.
do you remember? I'm sorry, Coach. Do you remember we had a guy who was getting really good? We called him Sporty, James Smith.
Sporty, I remember Sporty, yes.
So Sporty was really quick. He ran 100. So one day we was in practice and Sporty was talking way too much, and you was like, all right, Sporty Smith, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. And you lined up a set of hurdles and you let him run straight 100.
Woo!
And
Those
when
high
Sporty
hurdles?
finished, when Sporty finished the 100, Coach was waiting on
Damn.
him. Shut him down.
Gave him some
Shut him
humble
down.
pie.
Yo,
I
everybody
remember.
was like, man, I guess I got to listen to everything he says because, like, yo, it wasn't even like it was close. He ran hurdles and was waiting on Sporty to finish. That's the true story.
I learned that.
You remember that?
I learned that at camp a lot of times when I used to do camps in Shippensburg, and I used to go up there, and there was so many big mouths. You know, they would run their mouth, you know, right from the start, and they were like, I said, we're gonna try, you know, do it this way, and they look at me and they would always go, we don't do that. We do it another way. And I just look at them, well, why you come to the camp?
Right.
So you came to the camp to learn. I said, obviously, I don't know you, so you must not be doing too much. So
Whoa.
first day I would line them up and I just say, okay, we're gonna time you on your hurdles. And they look at me and they go, who's timing? I said, I am. So I would just go up to the front. I would run through the hurdles like they do. And then I would wait for them at the end and time them off.
That's great. That's crazy.
And I would say, I got your time now. I said, maybe you should do it my way. And I said, and you learn something.
Wow.
Mr. Galloway, I got a question for you.
Yes.
So when we were there, all of us about the same era, you know, we had a lot of athletes, but it was such a small microcosm, that school. We weren't, you know, we'd compete against other schools, but we didn't really realize, I mean, I think we knew how good we were, but we didn't really realize, you know, how good we were. I remember, I don't know if it was Agoe's year or Kristen's year, y'all ran against the Ishmaels in state.
Oh, yeah.
And I think won or competed. It was competitive, but was right up there with them with that world-class speed. And so when I saw the success that they had in the NFL, it made me realize a lot of those athletes that we had in the Milt were quality, could have got D1, D2, D3 educations out of it, but we just weren't getting
Exposure.
Exposure.
The thing about Milt Hershey was they were given scholarships. They were given money. And a lot of times they would like really deter you from you know, the scholarships. They wanted you, you know, they wanted to be able to say on stage that we gave out X number of money and all that kind of stuff. And it looked good when they were talking, but I kind of told him, I said, I said, when kids get scholarships, coaches pay more attention to them.
Yeah.
I said, if you give them money, that's just free money for them and they don't care about you. So a kid goes to school and they don't even look at them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so for me, I said, I want them to take advantage of the scholarships. I want them to earn scholarships.
Mhm.
And
Like we were.
a lot of time they would go, it's taking too long. We want to close this up and we want to say that we've already done that, and then they don't have to keep coming into the office.
Yeah. I'm sure it must have been difficult dealing with, as fantastic as Milton Hershey School was, there's a lot of red tape. That's a big
Absolutely.
Machine. It's a big machine, and I'm sure it's tough for you to speak on politically and all that stuff, but you've seen it. You've been there since the 70s. That's a lot. And like I said, a lot of these athletes that I just spoke about were very talented. So, I'm sure you could speak to that. I don't know how you want to speak to that.
Well, I mean, everything was new, and I don't think they saw the magnitude of what you guys really presented. They couldn't see the talent. It wasn't up until that point that we actually started to really excel. Because I remember, they quote unquote, they had some outstanding wrestling teams, but they weren't even members of the PIAA.
Nope.
They used to tell me that, they were private schools, so, they wouldn't allow them in the PIAA. And I'm going, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a school.
So you have to push for some things, so right away, I remembered I was telling Agoy, I said, I remember going to a track meet when I was assistant track coach, and I just came in there, and I don't know what meet it was, E-Town or some meet we went to, and our kids were running a race, and we dropped the baton, picked the baton up, and actually won by 80 meters. And I looked at Coach Horner and I said, we got to get out of here. I said, this is everybody's just waiting for us to lose. I said, we're not getting anything. Plus, being a black person in the stands, I said, nobody knows me here. They don't even know I'm coaching in Harrisburg.
Right.
I said, so we got to get to Harrisburg. We got to go someplace where we have some competition.
And relays, all that.
Started moving. Coach Horner was really good. He says, let's go, coach, let's go. So we got in those big old wagons and we just traveled.
So you were the reason why, because I know we were AA. So you had a big influence on why we were competing against AAA.
Absolutely. Competition.
Which I think was awesome.
There was nobody in AA that I even knew.
Right.
I mean, come on. I can't remember the colors. I can't remember their name. So when we went to meet, I'm like, I don't even know who we're running against. Right.
And that's awesome because it set us up. Well, I never made it to a past conferences personally, but whatever. Once you got past the regular track season and you went to compete in states and districts and all that, it was almost a cakewalk. It was almost a given because we were that much better than the AA.
We did Central Dolphins, CD East, we did Cumberland Valley. We did all of the top schools because, the whole idea of a dual meet is to prepare you for, the big competition.
Right.
And nobody else was doing that. And they could have, because you have control of your schedule. And everybody wanted to, win. They wanted to win, so they wanted to win in the small leagues and look good. I said, but then the kids didn't do anything in the, when it came to districts and states.
Right.
I said, so we'll take the opposite. We don't care. We're going to compete, and you guys stepped up. You stepped up to, compete with those groups, and you proved to the school that you can handle all of that.
It's funny though, Mr. Galloway, and I'll say this, and I don't know if I know Jack remembers. Jess may not because the girls were a different breed. But my freshman year, one guy made it on the track team. And he was in the field. It was Pat Lynch. Me and Jack made it on the track team as rakers. That's how bad, but Jack was fast. But he still didn't make it. That's how much competition, or that's how good the athletes were that year. And we worked that whole freshman year just to make it to, hopefully we can make it as sophomores.
Just think about it. If you guys are that great and good, the other sports should have been there too.
Yeah.
Because an athlete is an athlete. You know,
Right.
it's just all in how you look at it. Because, you know, when I looked at it, I was like, man, these guys are really good. We got to put them in competition.
Mhm.
And that was the whole idea. And you know, when we think about it sometimes, you know, even though the girls got most of the recognition, the guys are just as good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, so that
Hey,
brings me to my
Coach,
next point, Mr. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to run down. You had a long run of a lot of success with the track. And like Warner was alluding to, the girls had their record and the guys had something separate. But can you tell us how many years, how many championships? You know, do you have those stats in your head?
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
know-
know the girls had, I think they had 16 state championships. They had seven in a row, and then they missed one, and they came back and they had 5 in a row, and then they came back and had 2 more in a row. The guys, I think they had at least 3 or 4. They had 4 state championships, but we had more. We had like, I think they had overall, we had 37 district championships.
minimum. We
Spanning from when to when, Mr. Galloway?
And when I count back, I had probably just in state championships and relays, I had more than 81 state champions.
Wow. And what was the time period spanning from what year to what year? When did you
From
stop?
19, I'm only going to include my head coach, because when I first came in there in 1980, we had some champions then.
Okay.
But from 82, well, starting with 88, from 88 to 200 or 205 or 215, I'm sorry, 215.
Jeez. Wow.
Crazy.
So yeah, it's a 20-year span.
And you was talking about Coach Horner. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Webb. I know how tight you guys
Absolutely.
were, and you know, rest in peace, Webb. He just passed, and that was a beautiful service up at the school, and I know you guys were tight. Could you tell us about your relationship with Mr. Webster?
It's just hard to say. I mean, I think we had so much in common, and we were both on the same page, because the biggest page was we just wanted you guys to do well.
Mm.
And it's hard to find people who, you know, are like that. Most people are kind of looking out for themselves. They want to make a name for themselves, but you know, I think we both believed in the whole idea that these kids are here. We want to make sure that they get everything they can out of this place. And that was what it was all about. Webster never ran track.
Really?
In fact, most of the people that were on my staff didn't run track, but I went after people who cared about kids. That was the number one thing, because I could teach them everything they need to know.
Right.
And most coaches are smart enough, if they really care and they have a passion for kids, they learn how, just like teaching.
Right.
You know, you learn your curriculum every year, you put something together, and my whole staff was kind of like that.
Yeah, Ms. Hope, Mr. Rittenauer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gary did, I think, throw, but I had both the Shields brothers. I had, Ruth Hope, who never ran track before. Webster never ran track before. Alessi, I don't think he did track either.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few people that just never did track, period.
Well,
But they love kids. If you have a passion for kids, you will do everything you can for them.
I'll tell you this right here, Mr. Galloway, and I say this before. I've said this before, and I even tell my kids now. The fact that you guys actually did the workouts with us,
For sure.
like that's huge to me, because you're not just telling me what to do. You're showing me how to do it.
Yeah.
And you're motivating me, like you're pulling everything out of me to do the best that I can do. And I'm trying to beat Mr. Galloway. I'm trying to beat Mr. Webster in practice.
Good luck.
Just to make me
Good luck, it's right.
go that
No
much
wonder I
harder,
hurt
you
so
know what
much.
I'm saying? Huh?
No wonder I was hurting so much.
No, I'm
Yeah,
saying
you didn't let
I really
on.
appreciated that, because again,
Yeah.
it's so different telling somebody what to do, but you also have somebody doing it with you. That's
Right.
a completely different
Huge.
ball. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And that's twofold too, because it made it easier for me when I went home the next day. I knew how hard you guys worked,
Right.
because of how I felt.
Right.
I could easily say, I need to back off,
Mhm.
you know, or I need to put on a little bit more. And I could tell when something was easy, something was hard.
Right.
And from a coaching standpoint, so I really had less injuries than probably a lot of other people did because I knew when to back off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
true.
Coach, can you talk about, like, you know, during my tenure there, and I graduated in '87, and we were pretty dominant force, and we did talk about it. But can you talk about how we went to all those other different invitationals and things like that, but we never went to the big show. Not the big show is the Penn Relays.
Oh yeah.
And the whole time I was there, we had the talent to go to the Penn Relays. And, you know, it was like when we got the state meet, some of those teams didn't know who we were until we dusted them off. But, like, if they would have seen us at Penn Relays, they would have knew exactly who we were.
We used
Well,
to bet to
I
Penn Relays.
think we were all learning during that time, you know, and it's like I was kind of like learning, you know, so we were moving up as we went, but it wasn't much encouragement down there. It wasn't like I was being encouraged to try this, try that. Everything we did, we kind of like discovered on our own, and we had to like almost beg for it, you know, like we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to move out, we need to do that. So it was one of those things where it wasn't until, you know, we could see later on that we need to travel here, we need to do that. Now, keep in mind, like going to Penn Relays was really just for the experience because Jamaicans were taking care of the business there.
Yeah, they were.
Yes, sir.
How good you think you may be, Jamaicans were on a whole different level.
Come on.
You know, and not because of the talent, but because they, you know, they used the Penn Relays to go to college. If they performed well there, then they knew they would get scholarships. And that was their only hope. But they were running for a whole different reason.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
They, you know, and age-wise, I think some of them guys are pretty old, too.
Yeah.
They weren't in the PIAA.
Right.
Yeah.
So they, you know,
we were talking about going.
you guys were like young men. They had beards and mustache. They had everything. They look older than me.
You were talking about going to the big show. So I guess it was my senior year. I don't know if you guys remember this. So Lita and I had got invited to the Nationals.
That's right. We went to Nationals.
And they were not, we had to beg and beg. We were like, please let us go, please let us go. And they did allow us. I mean, it was fun. It was an experience. It was very overwhelming. Like when you got there, you're like, holy, it was indoor. It wasn't outdoor, but it was at Syracuse University, and it was Galloway, Webb, Miss Hope.
Oh, right.
And yep, and Salita and myself. And I believe we all had to drive in the same car at this little compact white. They didn't even give us a van. They're like, here's your little coupe. Go ahead. And that was
Mr. Galloway would always get tickets driving vans.
We had to fight for that. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. I know what you're going to say. We'll get to that story, Go. We'll get to that. But we had to fight just to go to Nationals, but outdoor Nationals was actually the same time that you guys had graduation. So they said no to that all the time. That was like the Golden West and some of those meets, the big meets there. And we really wanted to go there. And Penn Relays, as far as Penn Relays go, a lot of times there was some other meets that we wanted to go to instead of that, just to stay on a schedule. You got to remember, sometimes when you break that schedule, you know, it takes you away from, you know, the big picture, meaning districts and states. And our conference was one of the strongest conferences out there. Our conference meet used to be like a district meet.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times that competition, you can't just keep running hard all the way. Otherwise you get hurt. And we started looking at dual meets as being fun. Because we were so busy looking at the big picture. We wanted to win the big stuff. So if you remember, we used to have like Easter break. To always come back, and guess who was there? Hershey.
Oh yeah.
And it got to a point where I'm like, you know, even though we could handle them, a lot of times I back off and I say, no, we're only running like 2 events or something like that, because it really wasn't that important to me. I had to weigh the difference between Hershey and whether or not we wanted to win states. We wanted to win states.
So Mr. Galloway, I need a little clarification on something.
Go ahead.
I'm under the impression that the Milt has a sports Hall of Fame. Is it true that you are not in that Hall of Fame?
No, I'm in there. I was
Okay.
actually one of the first inductees as a coach.
Yeah.
All right. Because it was about to be beef and broccoli. We was about to go up there and it was going to be something. We was going to have to talk to somebody about something.
That's not to say that you can't continue to push for that, because I think there's only one girls team that's been inducted into that Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and that's 89, I think.
Yeah.
And that was it. And if you remember 88, 89, I remember 88, the boys and the girls were runner-ups.
Yeah.
And in 89, the boys and the girls won states.
Yep.
And the best part was, I think we won every relay on the track.
Smoked everybody.
Yep.
Smoked
So
everybody.
the girls did get in, but look, there's so many other teams that could get in there.
I mean, I saw Salita and them had posted, I guess it was Salita and Jenny Sloan and Elisa Freeman and them, 91. I think they won the whole thing again, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We won in 90.
We won in 90.
We won in 88. I mean, they started in 89 and they went all the way to, 7 years. And then there was one we missed, and then we came back and we won 5 more.
Well, I don't know
So
if you
here's
need
the
to hear
thing.
this when
In
this
88
episode comes out, but Milton Hershey, get your stuff together.
Yeah, sure. But you gotta understand,
it-
in 88, we was AAA.
Yes.
88, we was AAA. And
That's right.
so we, from 80, I would imagine the whole time I was there, so I ran from 84 to 87. That whole time we was AAA.
Well, you know what happened? What happened was they go by numbers. They go by your senior numbers.
Right.
What used to happen was Mel Hershey used to they used to present big
We used to
numbers
pad
for
the
the
books, put our whole
school
school in
board.
it. Right.
They used to like to present big numbers for the board. So
Right.
they would project the kids that were there and the kids that were coming in, and they never really considered the ones that were leaving.
Right.
And the numbers would
We
always
padded
go
the books.
down. They would always go
Right.
down. We would be AA, but they've already sent in, because you have to do it like every 2 or 3 years. So we were stuck. Not that it mattered.
No, we was still we still represented. When them brown and gold buses showed up, they were like, "Oh, here they come."
Yep.
Oh,
Mhm.
so-
That best to call us every kind of name or
Yeah.
whatnot, and and then we smoke them.
I tell you, I wish I still had my.
You
phone.
remember that part of it, and that part never stopped, because I can remember later on. I can't even remember. It was probably maybe 2 or 3 years before I retired, and we went to Palmyra, and we had a good team there, and the girls were, I guess going for the championship, and we still would call names. We were calling names. In fact, they started playing music, and the reporter came in, and we had to shut the music down. So it didn't change. It didn't change, but I think the maturity level of the kids, handled it very well. I think we all knew what our purpose was, and we didn't let that stuff disturb us. We had to do what we had to do.
Well, Mr. Galloway, let me ask you, so what, and we're going to separate this into 2 parts. What was your fondest memory at the Milt as a teacher and an educator? And what was your fondest memory as a coach? You spanned so many years, so it's a lot to
Okay.
to-
As an educator, I still remember, I guess, my first or second year sitting in the auditorium, and you know how they used to have the effort, conduct, honor roll.
Oh, yeah.
Call people up on the stage, and I remember sitting there, and I was sitting there with a group of kids, and at that time it really wasn't too many of people of color.
Right.
And I remember the kids made a comment. They looked at me and I said, "Why aren't you up there?" And the kid goes, "Come on, Mr. Galloway, look at me. We're not going up there." I said, "First of all, you know, they don't like us. And I kind of looked at the kid and I said, what does that have to do with, you know, your grades? And he looked at me and he goes, effort. He said, you know, because they don't like the in conduct. I could do the effort, but I can't do the conduct because they're going to stop me. So my goal as a teacher was to change that. And a few years later, I remember having a lot of my kids up there on the stage.
Nice.
So as an educator, that was one of my goals right away. They established that. They just said, from looking up there and not believing that they could do it to the point where all of a sudden when I could look up there and see them. And then my next goal was to make sure that I had somebody doing commencement that was speaking. And I used to take pride in that I would always have somebody up there speaking or doing the address or, you know, the introduction or the ending or something.
Right. That's
And
awesome.
as a track coach,
As a track coach,
or just a coach, you know, it might have been a football thing, but you had so much track in there.
oh, wow. You know, I was probably one of the few that was actually gifted to have all of that, you know, but I think my fondest memory is probably working with Webster. You know, I think, you know, to find somebody who really was on the same page, who really cared for all of those years, and then to watch Webster go from track to basketball and actually do a good job in basketball, you know, it's where I had a chance to support him was really great.
Hey, Coach, so while you were there, I'm sure you had some, I want to call you out. So name some of your best athletes. And I don't have to be included, even though I know I was one of them. But name some of your memories of your athletes, is, you know, some of your athletes. And, you know, I'm going to shout out the Cash Money Relay team, period. Because
start with that one for sure. You can start with Cash Money. I'll call it A and B. Cash Money A and B, because there was a year that started it and there was a year that finished it.
Yes, sir.
You know, so just like anything else, it's a process. And I think we were able to put that whole process together where we started with the right thing and we ended with the right thing. So sometimes it's, you know, it's not a matter of just saying you were lucky and you had the athletes or they just come along. We actually built those athletes, and I think we saw the start and the finish. As a coach, I think you don't know that, but, you know, I shared that with my group of kids that I work with this year, that a lot of times I would never say from start to finish. I would always say from finish to start. I always said you coach from finish to start. So that's why we ran a 400, so that our kids would be strong enough. And then later on, all year, we worked on starting. So we never came to the meet at the end and looked pitiful, because everybody knows when you get to the conference in the district and states, the workouts get easier and your kids are supposed to be in shape.
Yeah.
We were in shape before that. So the only thing we had to do was brush up on technique.
Yeah.
So we were ready before that. So, you know, right from the beginning, we did hard workouts, and we did from finish to start.
Do you miss it, Coach?
What?
You miss coaching and teaching and working with the
Actually,
kids?
I'm still coaching. My son is actually head coach at Central Dauphin East.
Nice.
So, you know, during the last couple of years that I coached at Mount Hershey. If you remember, I left in 2007. I left coaching in 2007. I was still teaching there, but my goal was 25 years of coaching. And when I hit my 25 year, I just said, that's it, I'm done. And I think that kind of shocked a lot of people, but it was one of my goals.
Right.
You know,
I lost you.
We can hear you, but we don't have your video.
Oh man, I don't know what happened.
Well, I mean,
It's all right, we'll finish.
we can finish off like this, Mr. Galloway.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I got a quick question though, Mr. Galloway.
Go ahead.
Did you make up the jumping jacks, the Spartan jumping jacks that we used to do? Was that you?
Not really.
Okay.
I think some of the kids made it up.
Because
I'm
it's
not going to
awesome.
take credit for that, because, you know, I think the kids were good. They did a lot of good stuff, and I just followed it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Wow.
That was my
Bro,
favorite part of track.
I got one more. Hey, Coach, because we talked about it briefly. We don't have to talk about the speeding ticket you got in the van. We're gonna move.
In that
We're
van.
gonna move past that. Because how you
Well,
get a
let's put it
speeding
this
ticket
way,
in the
we're-
van makes no sense as an adult. But
I believe me, I caught that at the school and they asked me, I was like, I turned the speeding ticket in and they were like, no, you got to pay for that. Yeah, I did. I had to pay for that, but it was worth it. It was well worth it. You know, we were headed to the meet. I think we had plenty of time, but, you know, my goal was always, remember, our goal was always to be the first one there.
Yes.
exactly.
The last one to go.
Yes.
We always had to
So-
have that prime parking spot, like closest to the, like, it was like, he would just tell the bus drivers, no, just going up, just keep going, just go park over there, we're good.
Yeah, we would park where we wanted. We always had carte blanche parking because we was always the first ones there. It makes a lot
That's
of
true.
sense. We always had. And I totally lost my question because I got so excited about that ticket. I wish you guys could have. I wish you could have seen that trooper. He was so mad, Coach. He was so mad. Like the trooper was. I remember when he got out. He slammed the car door and everything. Oh man. He
Yeah,
was hot.
well,
He was
it was
so
probably
hot.
more embarrassing than anything.
Yeah. So yeah, I forgot. I had something lined up and I just totally lost
Well, I'll ask a question. I'm pretty sure this is not a rumor. You know that you were almost on your way to the Olympic team, or you were an alternate for the Olympic team as a hurdler. Is that right?
Okay, well, what happened was when I finished my college career, I had qualified for nationals, and I went to nationals, and I actually pulled a muscle, and so my time qualified me for the Olympics. So when I interviewed for a job at Milt Hershey, one of the things that I did say was, "Can you sponsor me in the Olympics?" Because I didn't have a lot of money. And the Olympics that year was, you know, I think in California, it was Washington or something, you know, the trials. So I asked them to sponsor me. It was not, they kindly agreed. And then it wasn't until like 2 weeks before that they said, we can't do that because we're going to be sponsoring a race car driver. So I didn't get a chance to go to the Olympics, but, you know, in conversation with my mom, it was pretty easy because my mom just said, you know, you've been doing this track and field and this sports stuff all your life. It's time you get a job. So that took care of that real quick. So I stopped even talking about it, and that was it.
What year was that, Mr. Galloway?
That was
76.
1976. That would have been 76. The Olympics was 76.
Got it. Well, look, Mr. Galloway, you know, we are super appreciative of you coming on and making time for us and talking to us about all the Milton Hershey memories. Is there anything that you wanted to leave us with, you know, whether it's talking to old students or students that are there now?
It's easy just to say thank you because, you know, I think I learned as much as you guys did. And one of the biggest things was you guys accepted me and took me in. I didn't know as much as you probably thought I did at the time, but I was a good faker. So I could easily, you know, and I had a lot of confidence in myself. So the whole idea between the confidence and between a little bit of faking,
Yeah.
I was able to make things work. And in some cases, I was, you know, as young as some of the athletes I worked with, but I was accepted. And I think you guys gave me a lot of respect. And some people never understood that. They couldn't see why, you know, I was so well respected, but you guys did a great job of doing that. And you built my confidence and made me who I was.
Well, I know I want to thank you. Like I told you with that little story, you taught me some stuff, not even realizing you taught me, you know, and that's what a real teacher and a coach does for you know, for his students or her students. And you know, I'm just thankful, and it's nice that we're able to get you on and have you talk about some of the memories, and I know everybody else feels the same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
sure.